Megavan and friends, welcome to another episode of the Lord of the Wrongs podcast, the only Tolkien podcast the professor himself would dismiss as juvenile and crass. My name is Dan Zerby.
And I'm Sean Kelly.
Yes! All right, we did it.
Nailed it.
And together we'll be discussing the writings, adaptation, news, games, everything else regarding J.R.R. Tolkien's Legendarium in a way that he wouldn't like. He wouldn't like it. What's up, Sean? How are we doing today?
I'm feeling good. It's good to be back.
Nice.
Yeah,
it is. It is. I'm glad we're doing this. It's nice. It's a good thing we're enjoying doing this podcast that we do for fun.
Yeah, and nothing's more enjoyable than first of all, fulfilling our promises and called shots, and secondly, talking about some of the raddest characters in the Legendarium.
That's right. If you listen to our premiere of season 1 that came out on Valentine's Day,
Season 2.
Yeah. You'll know that we're doing an episode on Finrod Felagund of the House of Finarfin, one of the best elves in the Legendarium, if not the best elf in the Legendarium.
It's pretty objective. It's subjective, but it's pretty objective.
Yeah, it's really hard to argue with Finrod. Finrod's the dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But before we get into all this Finrod business, we have some business to take care of first. A little housekeeping of shame.
Yeah, we do. Housekeeping of shame, indeed.
Yeah. So in this case, I'm going to put on a maid outfit before I put on the dunce cap.
Yeah, clean up after yourself, you dirty slut.
Oh my god!
I'm assuming it was a French maid outfit, because that's what I. That's what I'm
I think
wearing
it was
right now.
like a hotel, like a gray dress with like a white apron overlaid on it, and
that's significantly less.
Sorry, it's.
But if that's what you're wearing, then why am I envisioning your pale, hairy legs in fishnet stockings?
Oh, well, the dress is short.
Oh, okay, good. Thank God. Otherwise, it was going to make it weird otherwise.
Okay, speaking of making it weird, I did mention last time at the end of the episode that in early drafts of Lord of the Rings, there was supposed to be a steamy love triangle between Gimli, Galadriel, and Frodo, and I don't know where I got that. I'm pretty sure it was from a dream I had the night before. I won't go into detail, but suffice to say,
are you confusing Lord of the Rings and Lord of the G-strings again?
I don't know if that's real, but
it is a real soft core. Right? It is a real soft core from the Skinamax days of the early 2000s. Yeah.
Wow, that's
I can't recommend it. I just can't in good conscience.
Well, you as a Tolkien nerd, you had to do your due diligence and watch all of the adaptations, and I respect that. Right. But also,
I will say it was not true to the core of the original. I will say
not the most faithful adaptation, huh?
No, I wouldn't say so. Not in my humble opinion, as a Tolkien scholar.
Thanks for doing that research. I think that's probably where I got my idea from. But it's not true. So
anyway, let's talk about Finrod.
Yeah, let's move on.
So yes, we're today talking about Finrod, aka Felagund, aka Edenil, aka Atandil, aka Nam.
Yeah, everybody's got a bunch of names.
Yeah, so Finrod is one of the 4 children of the great elf Finarfin. He's the eldest brother of Angrod, Aegnor, and Galadriel, of course. Let's see. He took the name of Felagund when he became the ruler of Nargothrond. We'll get into that in a few.
That was given to him by the dwarves.
That's correct. Yeah, and that name means hewer of caves. Since his strongholds
definitely respect from the dwarves, I would say.
Oh yeah,
because they're
I would.
big
Yeah,
hewers
I
of
mean,
caves.
yeah, that's a that's as big a compliment as you can get from a dwarf, especially for an elf. Really, that's how
Yeah,
great Finrod was. He was friends with literally everybody
yeah.
except for orcs and Morgoth, of course.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't. Hopefully, no elves were friends with them, but I think
Yeah.
maybe a couple were.
Uh,
Uh,
his name Nam was given to him by men, and it means wisdom. So there you
yeah,
go.
which is also obviously a sign of respect. So, if
Sure
in
is.
case you couldn't tell, he was, if not the best elf, in
Most
Middle Earth,
liked.
like of all time. Yeah, most
Yeah, it's
likable
like
for
most
sure.
popular. Yeah,
Yeah,
he won
he
most
won.
popular in high school for sure. Yeah,
Yeah, definitely won the superlative for that. But
100%.
um, yeah, I mean, anything else on the background you want to mention, or should we get
Uh,
into?
no, I think we should just get into it because
Yeah,
we got
let's.
plenty to talk about. So,
We're gonna cast him into the fire.
all right,
Yeah.
a fan favorite segment, I assume.
Yeah. Yeah. Once we get feedback, we can narrow that down. But
Yeah,
it's
that's
one of
right.
our favorite segments.
It is. I love it.
So yeah, I don't want to necessarily recast him from Rings of Power, but just
Yeah,
just in general, like
yeah,
who's a good fit for Finrod. And so I kind of went the route of likable actors.
yeah, yeah. I did the same thing.
Yeah. So I mean, I'll kick it off
Yeah.
with some that I think would actually be like pretty close, like maybe a James McAvoy. How does that
Oh
strike
yeah,
you?
that's not a bad one. That's not a bad one.
He's
I
like
like that one.
sort of elfish.
Yeah, yeah, I could see it. He's a good actor. He could pull it
Yeah.
off for
Yeah, he's
sure.
a good
I
actor.
was
He's
thinking. Yeah, no, go ahead. I didn't mean
no,
to.
he's likable. Yeah. No.
Yeah,
What do you got?
agreed. Uh, he's a little buff, but I feel like Henry Cavill would do a great job as Finrod.
Yeah, I think we just need to hide his, sort of Greek god physique
Yeah, right.
in some like loose flowing robes and maybe some like with like horizontal lines on them or whatever.
Although I will say, I saw somewhere on the internet someone cast Henry Cavill as Feanor, and that's a pretty
Oh
good one,
yeah, he
actually. I
would.
mean, that, yeah,
I
because
don't.
Feanor would have the biceps from all the smithing and making, so that
Yeah.
that one does work a little bit better, I guess.
Also, Feanor is like supposed to be maybe the most beautiful elf of all time or whatever.
Yeah, and
So
Henry
I want
Cavill's
to.
a handsome son of a bitch.
Yeah, I don't know if Henry Cavill's like beautiful, but he's certainly handsome. So
Yeah,
yeah, can't fault him
indeed.
there.
Actually, you know what? Now that I'm saying this, I know this is completely off topic and a tangent, but now I'm thinking like Henry Cavill should play Turin.
I could see that sort of.
That
I don't
could,
know. I always I imagine Turin as more of like an emo kid. Like he's like a little more frail, not frail, but
yeah,
like
definitely not
lithe, I
frail.
guess. Uh,
Maybe
but
he's a
yeah, I
badass.
can
But
see
either
it.
way,
I can see it. I just want to see Henry Cavill as like a villain.
yeah, no, he would. Yeah,
He'd be a good fit. Either
he
way.
would.
Anyway, but we're not casting either of those characters.
Yeah, no, we're not.
So,
We're still talking about Finrod, so let's keep it
so how
moving.
about another person who I think would make a pretty good elf and is a good actor, Robert Pattinson.
Oh yeah, yeah, it'd be
Yeah,
good. Yeah, for sure.
yeah. I feel like he's once he kind of moved past Twilight and everything, people realize like, oh, hey, this guy's actually a good at like once he has a decent script.
Yeah, right. I know
he's
it's like
pretty
all these
good.
people who are in Twilight. Everybody's like, "Oh, these people suck," and then they just do literally any other movie, and you're like, "Oh, they can act. They just happen to be in a bad movie."
Yeah, except for Kristen Stewart. But besides that,
No,
everybody's
she actually can act. She
yeah,
just
no, she
doesn't
can.
make good movies, as it turns
Yeah,
out. It's like she's talented
she
and just makes bad movies.
she could do her job. Her agent can't.
Yeah, right. Yeah, there we go. Let's see.
Yeah.
Who else
Who
did I
else you
have
got?
here? I thought Charlie Hunnam could do a good job as Finrod. He's likable. He's charismatic.
I don't even know who that is.
He played Jax Teller in Sons of Anarchy. He was also in The Gentleman, I think. It's a oh god, that guy.
Charlie
Jesus Christ.
Callum?
Hunnam.
Hunnam. Oh, okay.
See, he was in Sons of Anarchy. He was in Pacific Rim, Children of Men, King Arthur.
Oh,
He's in a lot of
yeah.
stuff.
I honestly, I didn't even know. I did not know this guy's name. Yeah, he would be good.
Yeah, I feel like he
I've
could do
seen
it.
it in so much stuff, but
Yeah.
that's funny. Yeah, I never. You make a number of Sons of Anarchy references. I just never
I
saw it.
didn't. Yeah, I did. I do actually. Didn't necessarily mean
Weirdly,
to, but
I'm also looking at a picture that somebody drew of Finrod, and it looks kind of weirdly like Charlie Hunnam. So that actually
maybe.
might be a good choice.
Let's say maybe I'm not
Just because
alone
of
on that one.
that.
Yeah. Who else you have?
All right, so this is getting a little more. I mean, so Paul
I was
Rudd.
gonna say. I was gonna say I'm ready to get silly when you are on this. So
So like, I still went likable, but now we're getting to the point where they're not great for the for the role exactly.
yeah,
I mean, Paul Rudd's likable because he's got like an easygoing, funny way about him, and I feel like
yeah,
that's probably not not exactly Finrod's vibe, but
yeah. But it's not exactly not his vibe though. Too to be fair,
yeah, I
it's
mean,
like
yeah,
he enjoyed fun
I'm
based on his
sure.
love of the harp, I guess. Who else did
Yeah.
I have? This one's very specific. 80s Kyle MacLachlan in David Lynch's The Silmarillion. Kind of inspired by Dune.
I
But if
that
David Lynch were to
is
direct The Silmarillion, Kyle MacLachlan would definitely be in it.
I mean,
And he's charming
yeah,
enough to play Finrod, in my
that
opinion.
is so specific, but I do. I can see like I needed to wrap my mind around how that's how that works, and I haven't seen the original Dune in quite some time. But
Well, it's a generally considered to be a poor adaptation.
yeah, you can
As
say that.
let's be real, as I love David Lynch, but the man is not somebody who cares to stick to the source material. He's kind of going to do his own thing a little bit. So
Yeah,
I don't think David Lynch's The Silmarillion would even be that good.
it would
But
be a
if he
ride.
made it. It sure would.
That's
It
for
would.
sure.
It would be entertaining to look at. 100%. Yeah.
All right, so I got one more. Tom Hanks. I mean, it doesn't get more likable than that,
It's true. He does seem like a friend.
and just not, just like so unelfish. But that's not stopping Amazon or whatever. So
True.
yeah, I
Shots
mean,
fired.
no, I'm kidding.
It's it.
But there are plenty of likable actors who are even worse for this role, but
yeah, that's right.
I'd like to see Tom Hanks in the Legendarium, just doing like a not British accent, at all.
Yeah, I don't think Tom Hanks can even do a British accent.
Yeah, a Southern twang Finrod or whatever. Yeah, salt of the earth elf right there.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I have one more.
Yeah, go for it.
And longtime listeners might have an idea. Luis Guzman.
Yeah, I mean,
it's always Luis Guzman. We love Luis Guzman here.
On the Guzmometer.
On the Guzmometer.
How hot is Guzman for this role?
I mean, so like most roles for me personally, it's a 9 out of 10 Guzmans.
Yeah. All right. I would say Guzman, he probably shouldn't be in the shoes of any elf, realistically. He's not the most elvish fella.
No.
But
no, he's not.
I mean, his likability
is through the goddamn roof.
If you were a group of men wandering through the woods and you woke up to the sound of harp playing, and Luis Guzman was just sitting next to your fire singing in the most beautiful voice you'd ever heard.
Oh, hey guys, how's it going?
Have you been working on that in between the
No,
seasons?
but I've noticed since we switched to Hulu with ads because it's so much cheaper, we're seeing a lot of Luis Guzman and like these stupid phone ads. So I've just been hearing his voice a lot, so I was just going for it. I don't even know if that was good, honestly.
No, it was actually pretty good. But I don't know. I'm gonna say like 7 out of 10 Guzmans.
I mean, it's a respectable amount of Guzmans.
Yeah, because he has the leg ability, but I feel like, all right, yeah, I feel like the maximum for an elf is like 7 for him.
Yeah,
you know,
no, that's fair. That's fair.
Like, yeah, he's a little more dwarvish, or like
I'm blinded by his charisma for sure. Yeah,
yeah. I mean, that's that's Finrod's whole deal. So that's why he's getting a max score for an elf. But yeah,
that's right.
For me, that's not too high. All right, so let's move on.
All right, yeah, let's get a little into the life of Finrod Felagund here. Yeah. All right, so let's just jump in. He was born in Eldamar in Valinor in the year of the trees 1300, and growing up in Valinor, it's all good until things started going shitty with Morgoth murdering the trees and Ungoliant sucking him up, etc., etc.
Yeah, that time was not great if you've listened to our other episodes. Read that area, but
yeah. If you'd like to learn more, listen to, I guess, the episode on trees from our first season, I think goes into that, or spiders even, because we talk about Ungoliant. We've talked about it in several episodes, and the Silmaril episode too. So you have a lot of options if you want to get a little more into that. But so we've talked about the story of the Silmarils last season. So you might remember Feanor and the exile of the Noldor, which Finrod opposed. He opposed Feanor because Feanor was a dick and was not in favor of the Noldor leaving Valinor, but he also would not be sundered from his friends and family, so he went with, also because he didn't want them to be under Feanor's rule, as you might imagine.
Yeah, he probably wanted to be a good influence on the kids.
Exactly. It's like, I know what's going to happen to my younger siblings if they're only hanging out with goddamn Feanor.
Just smoking cigarettes, leaning against the wall of of Tyrion upon Duda.
Lawyering in front of 7-Elevens and shit. Yeah. So Finrod and company did not participate in the Great Kinslaying. However, when the Valar pronounced the doom of the Noldor, he did not return to Valinor with his father, Finarfin. He stayed in Middle-earth with his siblings. So
probably good that he did, yeah.
Yeah, no, it ends up working out not as much for him in the end, I suppose. But actually, no, it does work out for him in the end because he's awesome. Anyway, so
did he cross the Helcaraxe? Yeah, right.
I think he would have had to, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody except for Feanor's followers did. So
yeah. I mean,
he would have been with Galadriel, and she did. So
yes, yeah.
So they went through the shifting ice in the north, which was probably not a great time.
No, it seems like it would suck. It would be really shitty.
So what did he do when he got to Middle Earth and the Sirion?
Right. So they're all in Beleriand now, and while a guest with his sister Galadriel of King Thingol, he expressed admiration of Menegroth. I mean, the great caves, the great stronghold of Menegroth. And Thingol told him, "It's like, well, if you think Menegroth's nice, there are these caves, the caves of Narog, and they're pretty fucking dope, bro." I'm paraphrasing. I don't think that's really.
I thought Olmo told him about it.
Olmo did also. Let's see. Damn it! This is the thing. When I'm taking notes, you can only write down so much.
I know. Well, first he founded Minas Tirith as soon as he got there. Yeah,
The original, the OG
yeah,
Minas Tirith.
yeah, which was what does it mean? Tower of Guard?
It
I believe
does
so.
mean Tower of Guard.
Yeah, but he
Nice
founded
mistake.
Minas Tirith in the middle of the Syrian.
Yeah, on Tol Sirion, which would later become the Isle of Werewolves when Sauron took it over.
Yeah, which
Much
is
later.
ironic, but we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, as I say, and we also kind of talked about that a little bit before as well in another episode. Um, let's see. Oh yes, so while journeying southward along River Sirion, Finrod and his friend Turgon encamped on its banks. Then Ulmo, coming up the river, laid a deep sleep upon them, and they were each bidden to prepare for a day of evil and to establish a retreat, a stronghold. And there you go. That's why he decided he needed a new stronghold eventually.
Yeah. So everybody's favorite elf was visited, and the most helpful elf was visited by the most helpful Vala.
Yeah.
And
That's right.
he helped him weather
exactly.
the storm for a while, at least.
Yes. So Finrod left the OG Minas Tirith on Tol Sirion in the care of his nephew Orodreth, and he built a new stronghold with the help of the dwarves of the Blue Mountains, and created Nargothrond. And he kept a lot of his jewels. He brought a lot of his jewels and riches with him from Valinor, and he rewarded the dwarves for their help with many of those jewels, which will come in a little bit later.
And yeah, well, in return, they also made the Nauglamir for him.
Yes, yeah,
which is
I thought we were going to talk about after the next bit, but that's
well,
too.
Yeah. I mean, it's a fancy necklace, but yeah, you know what? While we're here,
while we're here in Nargothrond,
I watched the intro to this show to try and figure out the intro music, and it's already just completely out of my head. But it's time for Madmen of the West.
Madmen of the West.
Boom, boom, boom. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't remember how the song goes, but
I have no idea. Yeah.
This time, Finrod Felagund is sponsored by the Boring Company. Yeah. I mean, how do you think those caves were delved? They were going to do it by hand.
No.
It's like people who
told
suggest
the rocks boring stories until the rocks crumbled away. That's what you meant by boring, right?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, the caves of Nargothrond were delved just like the pyramids of Egypt were built by human hands. Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Whatever ancient you want to believe.
It's ancient aliens is the answer.
No, the Boring Company. It's like the Elon Musk joint that builds giant drills and stuff, and they also sold flamethrowers. Do you remember that?
I don't remember that, but I'll believe you.
Yeah, they as some sort of advertising bit, they gave sold flamethrowers or something.
Okay, yeah, people. I do actually remember that. Yeah,
I mean, they weren't like real flamethrowers, but they were.
Yeah, but they did shoot flames.
Yeah, they did shoot. So I guess they were.
Technically, they were, but they didn't throw them as far as a military grade one.
Yeah. You weren't gonna shoot them into a bunker or something.
Yeah. Am I remembering correctly that they kind of looked like blasters from Star Wars, like stormtroopers blasters?
I mean, they were sweet flamethrowers, but not the most effective. And also, why the hell is it's a company that digs tunnels and mines giving out flamethrowers? But he probably could use that too later on, as you'll see. But it's the Boring Company. I mean, I don't know what else to say. That's they dug out the caves, and they could dig out a cave for you too. Probably. I don't really know how their pricing works. That's not part of the ad read. But call for a quote, I guess. So.
Yeah. Also, if the Boring Company would like to, become a sponsor of our podcast, send us an email at lordofthewrongspodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah, I mean, they've done weirder stuff for their for their advertisements, so why not? All right. So anyway, yeah,
Anyway,
I jumped ahead with the Nauglamir, I guess.
yeah. No,
What did you
well,
have to say
not
to that?
really. I mean, yeah. So with those jewels, yeah, they made him a gift of the
And they made
Nauglamir.
him a nice
It's
necklace,
pretty
basically.
necklace, yeah, which eventually would house a Silmaril and cause a shitload of trouble.
Yeah.
But we talked about that in the last couple episodes of last season. So check out our episodes on the Silmarils.
Yeah, I mean, this is the point where you can see he is like he becomes fast friends with the dwarves. Obviously, that I mean, they
Yeah,
give him his like most famous moniker.
yeah, yeah. I
And
mean, it basically becomes his. Yeah, it's synonymous
his
with it. It's his,
epithet or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
But so this is just the first of multiple examples of him just
Yeah,
befriending every race possible.
indeed. And speaking of, that's actually where we're going to be next in our little biography of Finrod.
Yeah.
Uh, so Finrod, like, is he's a bro, as you guys have heard, and so while hunting with some of his bros, it was actually the least shitty sons of Feanor, Maglor and Maedhros.
Yeah, which
It's
is,
like
low
they're
bar, but
yeah, they're all pretty problematic, but those were the least shitty ones for sure. They at least didn't feel great about the stuff they were doing.
yeah,
But they were out hunting in East Beleriand, and he just got, Finrod just got bored of the hunt and just decided to wander off alone for a little while.
just classic
And
elf things. They're just like,
yeah,
I'm just gonna wander around for like a month while the rest of you guys hunt.
like, enjoy your hunt, fellas. I'm gonna go just explore some woods as elves are wont to do. And while he's traveling off into East Beleriand, he comes across men, Beor and his people.
Yeah,
This
Bayor
is the first
was
contact
yeah.
of men and elves. This is a big deal.
Yeah, he's the first elf that the race of men encountered, and
Yeah.
it's a good thing that he was.
Yeah, it really is, because it could have gone way bad, way poorly.
Yeah, but
um,
he instantly like fell in love with the race of men.
yeah, as soon as he saw them, he's like, "Oh my god, look, they're so cute."
They're like
uh,
me, but it's just so much worse. It's adorable.
so as he comes across these men, they're sleeping, and while they slept, Finrod picks up a harp and just starts playing it, and the men awoke, going like, "Whoa, that's the most beautiful thing I've ever heard. Who's this dude?" And yeah, he becomes friends. He becomes friends with men. He learns their language and teaches them Sindarin.
I, I believe when he was playing and singing, they obviously they didn't know Sindarin, but
Right. Yeah, they didn't know what he was singing. Yeah, the words. He didn't
his
understand them.
singing and everything was so beautiful that they were like seeing images of the meaning of his song in the
Yeah.
fire or something like that. It was just
Yeah. It
yeah,
was
I
a
mean
magical experience for them, as you might
yeah.
expect. Like, you meet an elf for the first time, it's gonna be a pretty magical
Yeah.
experience, for
And
humans at least.
he's known to he ends up singing songs of power, so there is
Yeah.
like magic in his
Yeah.
singing.
Yeah.
It's canon.
Yeah. Yeah, it's elf magic, as
Yeah,
as Galadriel refers, or Samwise, I think, refers to it in the Lord of the
yeah.
Rings. And Galadriel's like, "Well, I don't know what you mean by magic, but
He's just so
do you
good at
mean this
singing.
magical shit that I'm doing?" It's like, I guess magic to you mortals.
Yeah, it's just one
For
of
them,
those
it's not as
cases.
yeah. For the elves, it's not as big a deal because it's just something that they do. But for the men, they're
Yeah,
like,
they're just like,
"Whoa,
yeah,
dude, this is incredible!" Yeah,
I just sing and a laser light show accompanies it.
yeah,
It's just
like, yeah. So Finrod does 2112 for the men with the light show and everything.
yeah.
So yeah, so he becomes best buds with men, which is pretty cool.
And
It's part of the whole
and
ennoblement of men sort of
yeah,
thing, is becoming friends with elves.
that group of men also, Bayor, is it the House of Hador? Is that his
Uh,
house? or House of Bayor, I guess. But
yeah, House of
his
Bayor.
progeny, it ends up being like all the kings of men and everything. Like
Yes.
they're the most noble house of men, and end
Right.
up being like Numenorian kings and whatnot. So
Yeah.
and in a way, he was, Bayor was already noble to begin with, but he learned Sindarin and everything,
Yeah.
and so that's like the first case of ennoblement, and arguably that could be why they, prospered and were so successful.
Definitely.
Yeah. So what's after this?
So let's see. He stays friends with the House of Bayor for his entire life. It becomes actually very, very significant. So during the Dagor Bragolach, which is the Battle of Sudden Flame, which is one of the I think it's the fourth war of Beleriand against Morgoth, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it's
one of the four.
the four. It's the penultimate battle with Morgoth at Angband. So like during this whole time they're basically besieging Angband, and
they're all fighting Morgoth. It's just like all sparked by Feanor trying to get Silmarils back, that sort of thing. That's what these wars were.
Yeah, this is the one where Morgoth explodes a bunch of volcanoes and sends dragons out for the first, or drakes. I don't know what they were at the time, but they were flightless dragons, and so it wasn't a good time.
It was not, and during that battle, Finrod finds himself surrounded by orcs when Barahir of the House of Bayor saves his life from the orcs. He jumps into the ring and kicks a bunch of ass, saving Finrod's life. And Finrod swears an oath of friendship and aid to Barahir and all of his kin. And as a token, and this part's important and connects us back to Lord of the Rings, he gives Barahir his ring, which becomes known as the Ring of Barahir, which is worn by Aragorn. It's one of the heirlooms that Aragorn has. It's the serpents with the emerald eyes.
Yeah, it's a pretty sweet ring, and
pretty bitchin'.
It is one of those moments where it ties like. If you read the Lord of the Rings, I think they mentioned the Ring of Barahir a couple times, and you're like, all right, well, that's cool. Like he's
I don't know what that means, but it's
one
cool.
of the like artifacts of his house. And then this comes out, and you're like, oh my god, there's an entire backstory that's like interwoven with how his house got this ring and everything. It's just one of those moments of expanding on something you know little about, and it just when you read that in Lord of the Rings, it's what's referred to as a textual ruin, which is, there's this backstory that we don't know anything about, but it enriches the fact, like, oh, there's a lot to this, and then finally when the Silmarillion came out, you can read and find out exactly where this came from. It's pretty cool. Yeah,
and this goes to show how hell of a world builder Tolkien was.
Whew. Yeah, and I mean, this ring comes into play a few times, but I mean, is there something before it actually comes to? No, that's pretty much the next thing, the important, notable thing that happens.
Which we have touched on already, and we're gonna have to get again. We'll get far more into the story of Beren and Luthien in its own episode, because it needs its own episode.
Yeah.
It might even be a two-parter. We'll see about that. But 10 years after that, Barahir's son Beren comes to Nargothrond looking for help, because he met this smoking hot chick in the woods, and but her dad
he wants to put a ring on it. Yeah,
he wants to put a ring on it, but not until
he goes and gets a Silmaril. I mean, there's nothing else to it there.
Price says, "Get me a Silmaril from Morgoth's crown, idiot." And and Baron's like, "Yeah, okay, you got it, dude." And goes to Finrod for help. And given that Baron's the son of Barahir, he's like, absolutely, whatever you need, dude. I'm with you.
Yeah, which it's just another instance of him showing his character of like
he stands by his oaths. He's a man
he's
who
going
stands
to
by his
help
oaths.
this guy get a Silmaril from the crown of the most evil being of all time, like powerful and evil,
The
like,
single most powerful being in Arda. Yeah,
which is
or in the universe except for Eru. I mean, really.
Melian the Maya was just like, hey, you just sent this guy on a suicide mission, and then Finrod's like, oh, right? By the way, I'm in.
Yeah.
And it doesn't go great, does it?
No, and it all ends up in the end being okay, but it doesn't go superbly. So in
order to leave, basically, Finrod gives up his kingship.
Pretty much. I mean, he knows there's a good chance they're not going to be able to come back because they're trying to steal a Silmaril from Morgoth, or steal it back from Morgoth, to be more fair.
Yeah, and then Celeborn and Curufin are two of the sons of Feanor, and they're basically they get into this like public argument with him and persuade basically all of his people not to go with him,
except for 10.
So
10 warriors do accompany Baron and Finrod to try to get this shit done.
12 guys
just going up against Morgoth and Sauron
to start heading north, and
Finrod, so they do.
Finrod disguises them all as orcs, I believe.
So let me see, make sure. Yes, so they disguise themselves as orcs, but they are still
Sauron
captured.
Sees through that.
Sauron sees them and is like, no way, bitch.
And so they're heading north, and they get to what used to be Minas Tirith, which he founded first thing when he got there, but Sauron ended up taking that over and turning it into Tol Garoth.
The Isle of Werewolves.
Which is
in the common tongue.
Tower of Guard into Isle of Werewolves is both it's just like hardcore places.
It's kind of it's like kind of the management of Minas Tirith really let everything go to shit.
They really did.
So anyway, they're captured. They're imprisoned on the Isle of Werewolves, and
before they get captured, Finrod gets into a shouting match with, or a singing match rather, with Sauron.
Well, this is after they're captured. Actually, after they're captured, they have they fight each other, or when they're captured, I guess perhaps.
I don't know.
But Finrod and Sauron had a singing contest, basically. They strove in songs of power, so they were like singing at each other with their magic, singing basically. And given Finrod is a great elven king and had a lot of power, but Sauron's a Maya, and he's a very powerful one at that. So he does win. He wins the singing battle.
I kind of picture it like in the Hobbit movies with Gandalf and the Necromancer. I know like parts of that scene were ridiculous, but they were sort of like striving against each other with these like, I don't know, forces that were, it's just hard to even visualize or comprehend.
So magic singing, we'll just say. That's what we got to call it.
That's all he gives us. So
so Sauron wins and then is able to strip them of their disguise, but he doesn't find out their names or their purpose. So he doesn't know that he's dealing with Finrod Felagund. He doesn't know that he's dealing with Baron of the House of Beor, son of Barahir. He doesn't know who any of them are, and one by one, Sauron has them killed by werewolves until only Beren and Felagund were left. But none of the 10 companions of Finrod and Beren gave them up. Like no one talked. They all died with their mouths shut because no one don't talk to cops.
Sauron could tell that Finrod was like powerful. Obviously, he just got into a singing match with him, so he was saving him for last, hoping somebody would just be like, like, who the hell is this guy?
But they all said that they were Spartacus. So
snitches get stitches.
I am Spartacus.
Their mantra.
No, I am Spartacus.
I am.
Sauron just kills all of them eventually.
It's like, all right, sure, whatever, man.
Yeah, and Sauron eventually just gets frustrated. He's like, you know what, fuck this. They're not talking, so I'm just gonna kill them. So he sent another werewolf to kill Beren specifically, but Finrod was not having that shit at all. So he put forth all of his power and strength and burst his bonds, which is why I do think that you could pull off a muscly Finrod.
Yeah, that's true.
And
Henry Cavill just busting out of some manacles and choking a werewolf out.
So he wrestles the werewolf and does kill it with his bare hands and his teeth, which is, I mean, if you're going to fight a wolf, I mean, that's a badass one. But I mean, he didn't have any weapons. He didn't have much other choice.
What a way to go.
And spoiler, Finrod is mortally wounded himself, and he dies. He dies there in the tower that he had built himself, which is kind of a bummer.
It's tragic, but
I built this tower and it was so pretty, and then these assholes came and ruined it, and there's dog shit all over the place.
He
saves Beren and sacrifices himself to save Beren's life.
It's badass and melancholy in like a very Viking way,
Yeah,
it goes very, like, Anglo-Saxon way.
Yeah, it goes to that that northern spirit that Tolkien wrote about, of like, it goes to that whole idea of fighting a fight that needs to be fought even if you die. Like,
just
defying whether you survive or not is not important. It's you fight the fight because it's the fight that you need to fight.
Yeah, and he held true to his oath, which
very Beowulfian, Beowulfian, and he did. He held true to his oath, and he does die.
And so before we get into what ends up happening to Finrod after this, because spoiler, the elves are immortal.
So they can be killed, but they're
still sticking around.
Their souls live on.
Choo choo. The adaptation station is just around the corner here.
Chugga
chugga choo choo. So I had an idea for a game show.
Ooh, all right.
And it's called Wear and Tear. 12 contestants compete in a series of quizzes and tasks. And they're competing in an elimination style tournament to figure out who's the winner. But the twist is that whoever loses gets devoured by a werewolf.
Ooh, high stakes.
Yeah.
Is this based on a Japanese game show by chance?
Yeah, no, it's a Korean thing.
Oh, okay,
sorry, like a Squid Game type situation. Yeah, or actually no, like a. I always forget the name of it. The ultimate kingdom. What's the thing where it was like an obstacle course with the guys
Ultimate
wearing
Ninja Warrior?
No. Oh god, I can't remember what it is. There was this Japanese game show. It had different names in Japanese translated and in English. It was on like Spike in the 2000s, and it was these guys who were wearing like traditional Japanese robes, and these people were competing in an obstacle course, and the commentators were just screaming, and like it was like the most high energy
It sounds vaguely familiar, but
they were like lubed up and like climbing stairs and stuff. And
well, it sounds like quality programming, that's for sure.
Oh, I mean, yeah, nothing quite like that. But yeah, I'm picturing that, but whoever loses just gets eaten by a werewolf.
Yeah, very high stakes, and but they do get a gigantic glowing jewel if they win. So it's
it's MXC Most Extreme Elimination Challenge.
Oh yeah, I remember. I didn't like watch the show because anytime I would flip past Spike, I'd be like, "What the fuck is happening? This is crazy." It was overwhelming to watch. Yeah,
yeah. I think you need a certain I don't know if like you have to be neurotypical or neurodivergent, but it's one of the two. And you need to just thrive in the chaos of that sort of show. And that's actually kind of thinking about it, that's kind of the energy I'd like to bring to to Wear and Tear.
I love it. I'm in favor, highly in favor of this.
By the way, that's Where, WERE, which it means man
in Old English. Yeah, Saxon.
The wolf isn't. It's not part of it, but wolf means, the pun still works.
Yeah, it's still there.
All right. Nice. So what happens to Finrod?
Well, he dies, but as you know, he get rebodied. So when an elf's body dies, his Fea or her Fea, which is their spirit, their soul, goes to the halls of Mandos to be judged, and Finrod was not there long because he was the shit. I mean, he was noble and selfless, and he was always reluctant to depart the Undying Lands. He didn't really want to do that. So after a very short time, he gets re-embodied in Valinor, and he gets to just live until the end of time. And it is said that he dwells beneath the trees in Eldamar, being able to be reunited with his father Finarfin and his beloved Amarie, who he left in Valinor when he joined the Noldor.
They were betrothed, but they never married until presumably when he got
I mean, you'd figure they gets reincarnated. It's like, I think I'm ready to tie the knot, lady, babe. Let's do it.
One of the reasons this is so significant is I don't know if we've even mentioned talked about the Doom of Mandos yet, the prophecy of the North. I mean, we mentioned it earlier that he heard the prophecy, but I mean, basically, Mandos was like, "Hey, you guys fucked up. You cannot come home, and if any of you dies, these are all the exiles of the Noldor who left and went to Middle Earth, with
and did not return when they were called."
Yeah, so that's why half of his host with his father ended up going back, and so they weren't really held to it, but he was. And in that, Mandos was like, "Hey, if any of you dies, you're not leaving the halls of Mandos. Maybe forever, or at least certainly for a long time."
Yeah, you've been very naughty, and you're going to be in timeout for as long as I say. I mean, basically,
halls of Mandos were not hell, but I think there were probably spankings at least reserved for all the Noldor and exiles. But Finrod was released immediately, which
because he was such a good guy. He was such a good guy. He did. Yeah, everything he did for. If he refused a summons of the Valar, it was for good reasons.
Yeah,
because he was worried about his friends and family. Falling under the influence of Feanor, pretty much.
He didn't participate in the kinslaying, and
no, he did not.
He didn't really do any of the evil stuff that the rest of
That's right.
Sons of Feanor did. So he earned it.
Yeah, he earned it. Yeah.
I mean that's Finrod Felagund.
I mean, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. Yeah,
I think he has to be my favorite of the elves of the first age.
Yeah, I mean he's so great. I mean he's like I mean we've said this several times already. He's the best one. I mean
Yeah, it almost feels
he's
like
a hell of a
should
guy
pick him in a sort of a
because it's too obvious to pick
Yeah.
him. Yeah, right. Yeah, it's like
in
'cause
like
of course
in a
he's the best
hipster
one.
way. It's like
Yeah.
I don't.
It's
It
like,
just feels.
picking Finrod is so mainstream.
Yeah, my favorite's Feanor.
I mean,
Just
I
to be
said that in our first
controversial.
episode that one of my favorites is Feanor, and
I-
that's just because he's the worst. He sucks.
Yeah,
but he's a very fun
he's a
character to
great
read about.
character.
Yes, exactly.
But
He's not a good guy. Yeah, he's a bad dude.
the man or the elf, I guess in this case, like
Yeah,
Finrod is the best of them. He doesn't.
Yeah.
Thingol, Feanor, obviously, and all Feanor's sons, and even like Turgon, who founds Gondolin.
Yeah.
Like they all make mistakes. And
sure.
stuff.
Yeah, I mean they're not perfect beings.
No, nobody
like,
is.
but yeah.
Finrod really doesn't do wrong.
Yeah, I mean he really doesn't. Even when he technically does, like I said, it's for a good reason. It's like
yeah.
It wasn't out of pride. It wasn't out of
no. It's not out of a character flaw. It's out of him believing he's doing the right thing. Yeah.
Yeah, he was doing the best he could in a bad situation. Yeah, that's what he felt he had to do. And
yeah. So if you want to learn more about Finrod, read the Silmarillion.
yeah, can't really recommend that you watch Rings of Power for any more insight on Finrod. Unfortunately, partially the showrunner's fault, and then partially not at all because
I mean
they don't have access to the Silmarillion. But
time frame is like after his time. Like he dies during Beren and Luthien. They say he gets killed by Sauron, like implied that he died in battle or something, but they couldn't really get into specifics in the show.
Yeah, but obviously. You do see like when they show his corpse, you see like claw marks on him that he was killed by could have been a giant wolf, a werewolf, maybe.
There was reference, but
they could only do so much.
Yeah, like besides flashbacks, you're never really going to see Finrod.
No. Not until the Silmarillion gets the film rights for the Silmarillion get sold, which probably eventually will happen.
Yeah,
but, Tolkien state's pretty careful about doing that sort of stuff,
especially since they've been burned a few times recently.
I was going to say mixed reviews at best for Rings of Power.
but it's still open for season 2. But anyway, with that, I mean, I think we need. I think the new Lord of the Wrongs needs to step up.
That's me. Hi, everybody. I'm the new Lord of the Wrongs.
Yeah, so I mean, we didn't really have a name for it, even though it was sitting right in front of us the whole time.
It's like we've just been telling it the Tolkien fun fact, but
the Lord of the Wrongs needs to come up with the Tolkien fun fact.
Yeah,
so
especially since not a single one of these has turned out to be right on the first go. But this is the first time it's going to be correct.
This is a rebrand.
Right. Yeah, it's a rebrand for us.
Yeah, pay no attention to the fact that the wrongs is in the name of the person.
That's not important. So here's our Lord of the Wrongs Tolkien fun fact for the episode. Tolkien's inspiration for Finrod was a fella he knew in the war who played the harp during the Battle of the Somme and stopped the battle from happening because everybody was tripping while they heard this beautiful music. That's a true fact.
So it was sort
of history books won't tell you.
It was a Christmas tree situation with a hallucinatory harp.
That's exactly correct. Yeah,
wow.
It was just a fella in his platoon who was just a bitchin' harp player. He was like the Eddie Van Halen of harp players. He was incredible.
Yes, and
this is all something that happened.
At that moment, all the soldiers along both battle lines stood up from their trenches and said, "Wow, that sure is one bitchin' harp." And they all came together, shook hands,
sick
and
harp
hugged.
solo. Everyone loves a sick harp solo. Yeah.
Yeah, that is.
Yep.
It has to be true because I want it to be.
It is. So there you go. It is true.
All right. Once again, where can the people find us, Zerby?
If they even want to, you can find us on Instagram at Lord of the Wrongs Podcast. You can also send us an email if you have corrections, questions, concerns, praise, sponsorship offers. Recipes. Why not?
Clickbait articles.
Yeah, that's right. You can just send us an email at lordofthewrongspodcast@gmail.com. And join us next time. I guess that's the end of our episode, fellas and ladies, and everyone in between. Thanks for joining us.
With that, we
tell
say
your friends.
With that,
we say Namarie.
Namarie.
Bye.